Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mud Club podcast. Super excited to have y'all here. Today, I'm super excited to be talking about the Multifi. Oh, Joseph's got the hat. I'm sorry to hit you. The Multifi Masterclass that Veena Jetti hosted recently. And I'm going to be bringing on two guests, Isa and Christy. Both of them got to attend the event as well, and so did Joseph. So today I will be interviewing them, and they're going to be sharing all the juicy details as to what went down at this event. So I'm going to bring them up. There we go. We got Isa and Christy. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So Isa and Christy, these are amazing women. They literally kick ass in everything that they do. Super personable, super giving, lovely ladies. So I'm super blessed to have you guys on our podcast. And I do want to start by saying every single night that Joseph went to the event, I called him and stayed up late because I knew if I waited till the end, he would miss out on so many details. So this is going to be a really good interview because we're probably going to get a bunch of stuff that I was missing from Joseph as well.
Talking girls.
So if y'all want to like introduce yourself, you're more than welcome. This is the Mud Club podcast. Here we just talk about real estate, our life, anything we want to talk about. It's really a spot for us to come on and share. And y'all are actually our very first guests we've ever had on our podcast. So
Thank you for having us.
who you are, how to follow you, what you're focused on. That way they know who it is that we're working with here. Okay, Isa, go first.
I've been voluntold. Hi, my name is Isa. I just started my real estate investing journey in February. I'm focused on multifamily, and that's why I attended the Multifi Masterclass along with Joseph and Christy. I'm currently a GP in a boutique hotel out in Puerto Rico. But for Q4, I'm focused on developing my teens' financial literacy and entrepreneurship program. The community launches tomorrow, actually, so I'm super excited.
Yes. That is exciting.
Very, very excited, and I feel very blessed to have good support from my community and from my friends here. So that's a little about me, and then my Instagram is my handle on my name right now. So connect with me. I would love to connect with any young entrepreneurs or anyone interested in real estate and my community.
Love it. Thank you for sharing, Isa. And yes, if you guys have teams, you need to send them her way. What she is doing is amazing. She's giving back and trying to teach kids what we wish we knew growing up. Things that would have equipped us so much better than where we are now. And I love that you are giving back and setting the new generation up for success. Okay. So Christy, do you want to share?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having us on, and I'm honored to be here with Isa as well. It's very inspiring what she's doing with her kids community. And I'm Christy Schnurle, and I've been in multifamily for the last 15 years. I started the first 5 working for a syndication firm. So we focused on affordable housing, and I worked in acquisitions, doing underwriting and due diligence there. Over the last decade or so, I've been working in a consulting company. So we work with multifamily developers, helping them reduce construction costs and a lot of other, things along the way, coming up with some creative solutions for roadblocks that they hit, as well as visualizations like renderings, virtual tours. So I'm also a GP in a boutique hotel deal down in Puerto Rico, and Isa and I are actually partners on that deal. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at christy.schnurle, and I'm also pretty active over in Facebook. So if anyone watching, if you are interested in multifamily, getting into it, definitely connect with us on especially on Facebook and any of Veena's groups, and we'll help you out.
Yeah, Christy, if anybody's on Facebook, they definitely have seen Christy before.
I know.
She's all over the
place. I know. She's awesome. I love that. And Christy has so much experience. We've learned so much from her. So both of these beautiful ladies are wonderful. They bring so much value. So I see we've got a lot of people here. Hey Max, how are you?
Hey,
He's excited for this one. We've got Tommy. Everyone's excited to hear about this. We've got Deidre. I can never say Deirdre. There we go.
Hey.
Lelaine says hi.
Hello, family.
Look at all you guys, all these night owls that are hanging out with us tonight. I love it.
Awesome. Okay, so where should we start this? Should we start with, first off, when Veena had this surprise and I was like, what is it? You know, I was like, oh my gosh, what is she gonna do? And when she came out with it, I knew right away, one of us has to be there. We have to make it happen. I don't care what the price is, we have to be there. And so Joseph didn't even know what was going on. I just signed him up and I did all the stuff for him and I was like, he's gonna be there.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend you go get a wife that just does all this stuff when it comes to like the filling out the applications. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So I really wanted to be there, but considering I breastfeed exclusively, it just didn't make sense for me to go. I wouldn't have benefited as much as Joseph did. So I will be there next time. But I would love for you guys to tell me what made you want to go to this, and I guess we'll start there. If you want to help me host.
No, this is your show. I'm backseat driving this one.
Okay.
It's all you.
Okay.
I'm always talking, so you got this one.
So what made you feel called to go to this event in the first place?
My wife told me.
Well, I'll go ahead and start.
I'll let either of y'all go first.
Okay. So I think for me, it was, I have, spent the last year in Veena's community. I met her virtually back in, probably January when I first joined her community, and then in person the first time was February. And over the last year, I have just watched her pour into people. Like, she has given up so much of her time. She's on the road a lot doing all of these speaking events. She will still, every single time she's in a city, she will then take the time to also do a meetup. It doesn't matter if she has like 3 or 4 hours in between and that's her only downtime. She will use it to be able to connect with people in person. So it's just been really, it's been amazing to see how much she cares about everyone in her community. So for me, I felt like the amount of value, and she's already, if you've been on any of her Zooms before, you've seen she doesn't hold any cards close to her chest. She basically lays it all out there. She's very transparent, lets you into, what other people call the murky waters of multifamily, because it's a little bit elitist sometimes, and it can be a harder entry point, and a lot of people purposely make it that way. But Veena's actually made it extremely accessible, both to women and minorities and like anyone that's interested. So everyone's very, she's very welcoming to everyone in that. So for me, KJ, I was with you as soon as it was announced. I was like, I need to be there. I want to be there. I want to support her. And for me, it was like, one, I knew it was going to be amazing, because if she was putting it on, she doesn't do anything and just kind of throw it together. She's very purposeful and really dives into everything with her full heart. And for me, it was also a way of just like a thank you, because she has given so much to us over the last year, and just the number of opportunities that have come my way, and just the friendships, the relationships I've built, she was a catalyst to all of it. So for me, it was really just a token of gratitude, as well as obviously wanting to be a part of it. I'm very excited for it, but that was my biggest driving factor.
Man, we're gonna have to start making Christy go last, because her answers are always fire.
I know. How can I follow up with that?
Yeah. On that note, I guess it's Ice's turn.
Thank you, Joseph.
I got you.
Yeah. Christy said it perfectly. I wanted to go because of the value that I knew Veena would pour, the authenticity that she naturally radiates. And I wanted to be a part of that first start to her new chapter and opening a community. and being able to be part of an intimate setting where she's going to pour so much personal, be very intentional with everything that they teach. They made it very personal. Like they had little goodies for each person. They were labeled with our names. It was very Veena. Her team did a great job in like replicating her persona through the gifts and the aura. Why I wanted to work with Veena or like be in proximity to her, especially through the mastermind. I actually came across her. I'm coming from Sub 2, so I joined Sub 2 in February. I learned about multifamily because I got invited to community camp, which you guys were both there as well. Yes? Yes. And I think that was the first time we met, right? That was the first time we met in person.
I think. Yeah,
first time we met in person.
That's the first time we met Christy too. In person.
In person.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Very full circle now because I didn't realize, even with Christy, that we'd all be so close. So I found out about Veena and just researching the work she does, like her mindset with scale and reason why she's in multifamily specifically. I was like, I need to work in proximity to this woman. She's very authentic. She champions minorities and women. And so in the summer between meeting her for the first time and then leading up to this event, I poured into the community. I took a lot of action, imperfect action. And when it got announced that this masterclass was coming up, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out a way to be in that room, even if I can't afford it. Like, how can I afford it? It's always like that mindset of how. So ironically, I asked Veena, like, I'm still figuring out how to pour value to be at this event, whether I'm working at it or I do work for you to like make up for the price of the masterclass. I need to be there. And the same day she announced on a Zoom that she was giving away her first scholarship for her first masterclass. And I was the recipient of it. So I get so red talking about it because I get so emotional. I cried on Zoom. Oh my gosh, I'm so red. But it's because that moment was so special and everything, my relationship with her leading up to this masterclass has really showed me her intentions as a leader, as a woman, as my mentor. So I was very blessed to be at this masterclass, and my intention coming in was to pour value as I received value as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know. How are you gonna talk about
I got one thing in mind. Hopefully it works. So I definitely agree with everything that's been said so far. I mean, we could keep talking about that all day, but just to say something a little bit different. I've always been kind of connected to Veena's aura. She's different than a lot of other people in the multifamily space. Like specifically from my experiences, right? We've been in other mentorships. We've gone through other mastermind classes and programs, and they were just totally different, right? Like the time and energy and the effort and care that she put into this, it was evident, right? We all saw it going into this. We saw it the entire time there. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I mean, this was just a totally different event than it ever was. Like, for example, one big main difference is she gave us assigned seats. And I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but she gave us assigned seats based on the forms that we sit in. And she tried to figure out who would be like the best fit for each other, whether that was receiving or giving value. She was very intentional with who was sitting next to who. And actually, as a result of that, the person that I was sitting next to, shout out to Tara, she actually has been, I was just on a Zoom with her where we were actually working on some of the stuff that I needed help with, where I just didn't have that expertise. But, what a coincidence. The person sitting next to me was very skilled in exactly what I needed in order to get to the next level. So that's just one example out of many that told me that she put a lot of effort and energy into this. And just the fact that happened was not a coincidence. It was intentional on her part, and it resulted in us having an amazing experience with the event.
I thought that was huge.
Oh yeah, it was
Like
incredible.
when he told me that, I was like, wow. Like most masterminds or events you go to do not put that much effort and thought into who you're sitting next to, and the fact that he's already seeing results from it, and it's the opposite of like him. It's someone we needed that complemented what we were missing, and she's just been like giving selflessly, like offering to do things for free that I'm just like, wow, like that's really amazing that just from going to the mastermind and Veena specifically putting someone next to you, we're already getting help and making connections with people that will hopefully take us to the next level. So do you guys want to start on day one? I want to feel like I was there because he's not good at this.
I'm short, straight to the point. I'm going to give you the high level information, and you're going to know the general gist, but all the specifics.
I know he's missing stuff. So I saw videos of y'all on a party bus. I saw Nick on a pole. I saw y'all doing games at this cool place. I had major FOMO, so I need to live through you guys.
Do it.
All right,
yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, the video of Nick on a pole.
Big Nick energy.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it actually been to Sexy Nick at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Robin was yes. She wanted to rename him Sexy Nick. So
stood up in the middle of the room and led the charge for a new name change there. Here, I guess let's start off with the first day. Like, how did we all show up to the event? The registration day. Pretty straightforward. I mean, we kind of all showed up, hung out, cocktails and charcuterie boards, and Jody's famous coconut cake. That was delicious. I ate
You ate coconut?
Yeah, it was good.
He doesn't like coconut.
I know it. I told everyone that it was that good.
Yeah.
Jody flew in early, so the first event started on Wednesday evening. It was a kind of a cocktail mixer event to register and get to know everyone. Jody flew in, I think, on Tuesday, and he went to Elena and Kirk's house, and he cooked I don't know how many coconut cakes. I think it was between 15 to 20, and so that he could bring them to the event. So that was it. That was amazing. I think everyone was stuffed on coconut cakes. One thing I did want to say for anyone that wasn't a part of the Multifi Masterclass, to circle back to kind of what Joseph said before we jump in, is that Veena had us fill out this intake form. Every single person who attended, we had, how many questions were on that? 100 questions, maybe? Or around that?
There were a lot.
It was a lot. So that, to me, set the tone for the whole event, which is the reason I wanted to bring it up, because she literally, I mean, the questions on there were things like, what are your big goals? Like, what is your biggest hurdle or struggle right now? She wanted to know, we did assessments in advance, like with the Clifton strengths and knowing whether you're a visionary or an integrator and posting those scores, like all of this very detailed. Peter's here. He was next to me at Multifi. And yeah, so it was like very in-depth. Like I felt like I joked towards the end because I knew she was on the other side of it. I was joking where I'm just like, I feel like I just had a therapy session and like maybe the price should go up because of this. Because it was like literally that in-depth of questions as you go through, like, what are you happy about or searching for, or what's your bigger, kind of those why questions, and really trying to root out what we wanted, not just in our life, but also from this experience. So that also I know was used a lot. Like Veena used that even we'll get into kind of some of the events that we did and things, but that intake was read not only by her, but also by Rosie Newell, who, if you're not already in her Facebook group, she's a free group that's Zone of Genius. And what she does is she focuses on Clifton strengths and then helping to educate you on what those traits mean and those strengths and how to best use them. So she also went through everybody's intake forms to understand exactly who everyone was. Priya, Rajay, who is Veena's partner and sister, she also went through all of them. Nick, I think, also read them. I'm not 100% on that. He may have been too busy dancing on poles. But yeah, so basically the full speaker panel they went through in advance of the event and made sure they went through so it could be a personalized experience for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome.
another thing I really admired is the team, like the New Reach team, going through our socials and giving us personalized, what are they called? Like social media.
Brand audit.
Yes, brand audits. I
Yeah.
thought that was insanely cool.
Yeah.
And really helpful for the demographic of the room, because I think a lot of people are trying to start building on their brand. And I thought it was perfect, especially for all of us who are getting into multifamily real estate or building our business from where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually had an unfortunate incident where they mixed up all of my information, so I didn't get any of that until afterwards. So I've resubmitted my information for everything, and they're working on it now. But I didn't get my login. I was missing everything. I had no information going in day one. I was just like, I know this is the place to be. I'm just gonna show up and hope for the best. So luckily, they were on top of it from the moment I let them know. They got it all handled. So they were great. But yeah, I'm excited to get my audit back too. It's probably not going to turn out so great, with mine, but I'm hoping for the best.
I know. I was like, submit my information. It'll be a bit more beneficial.
Well, the good thing is the format that it's in, you can still use it and assess yourself, because it's almost like, here's what the best practice is, and do you meet that? So you can at least look on yourself and see, okay, do I hit this metric? So
yeah,
I love
but
that.
yeah, the event was literally the most beautiful hotel. I mean, you walk in and it felt like, I don't know, it was incredible. Like the design of that place, the vibe. The minute I got there, I was like, okay, I don't want to leave.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how you guys felt, but that reception and everything, it was really nice. Everything about it was very high class and bougie, which I was all for. So it was very Veena. And
I love that we bonded through line dancing. I'm a big dancer, and I just love people coming together and being expressive like that. So when I saw Vita and Nick on the floor, and then everyone else was joining, I thought it was a really cool way to kickstart a family energy to it, and very welcoming to the first day of the masterclass.
Yeah, and that was not even day one. That was the pre-day, right? The registration that they're talking about. Yeah, she basically was like, come outside, everybody come dance with me.
Mm-hmm.
So 90% of everyone went out there, and the rest of us were all just sitting out talking business. I learned a bunch of stuff about fund of funds just on the first day within the first 2 hours. So I got a lot of information there. And then we stayed up till, I don't know, midnight, maybe even 1, just sitting outside talking. I think me and you, Christy, were talking for a good while. And I thought everyone was going to bed. And then a whole nother group of people comes by to sit down. We talked for another hour after that. So it was great. It was a good opening day, just nice casual reception to be able to kind of do a quick meet and greet with everybody. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about pre-day one?
I don't. We haven't even got to day one
Yeah,
yet.
no. Feel good?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the spill of beans on day one.
Right.
All right.
How did it start? Who was the first speaker? What did you eat for breakfast? I'm sure it was bougie.
Breakfast, I think everyone kind of took care of themselves. There was coffee, coffee out and stuff, but I don't know. I think I was too distracted saying hi to everybody, so I didn't notice. I know on one end of the days they had, bagels out and stuff. I don't know if that was on the first day. But you walk in. Okay, yeah. So I don't know. For me, I walked in and I was blown away, because the first day, just that impression of the room, you come in and it's a hotel conference, event. So when you walk in, you don't expect much, but the tables everyone has place cards because, there's assigned seating. And then there's these beautiful big boxes that are black. They have scalloped edges, gold wax seals with the Multifi logo on it, beautiful gold bows. There's a giant swag bag, and everything has your personal name on it. There's a custom cupcake. every seat, along with like the workbooks, like just, it was beautifully laid out. Just everyone was scared to even touch anything because it looked so pretty and so perfect. So I don't know. That was my first impression. I just walked in and I was like, wow, okay. Like Veena is here.
That cupcake pretty quick though. That one didn't last long. It was pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, the gifts were awesome. Just the fact that, like you said, everything was just set up the way that it was. I mean, that was a great way to just walk right into the event.
Let's see.
Oh, you got your little
my swag. So everyone, this was one of the in the swag bag, the nice pin, Multifi.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we were welcomed by that video by Andy, which was really, really cool. I think it set the tone really well. The team handled like the technical issues very well, and I think that it was on theme for Veena and the energy that she wanted to bring into the room. Even like the stretch breaks we would do, it was always with music, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of things and activities within the weekend that I would have never assumed I would have experienced at like a mastermind or a multifamily investor mastermind.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Well, I guess let's get to the first speaker, right? It was Rosie. I mean, obviously Veena came up, did the introduction and everything, welcomed everybody there, and it kind of set the tone. But the first piece of content was with Rosie. And I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of value out of just listening to Rosie and how she's able to kind of pinpoint people's strengths just by listening to them talk. Like, that was incredible. She did it to me like multiple times because I had the opportunity, intentionally, I had the opportunity to be around her on multiple occasions to try and get as much free coaching as I could in the moment, you know. But that was really great. And how she was able, she was clearly nervous, right? She told us all going up there, I think that's one of her first like speaking events where she's kind of front and center, but she killed it, did a great job, and I got a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, I felt like that was the one core, what did I say? Like the one thing that everyone took for the whole weekend and applied it to every activity or bonding event, because it was like, hey, I'm Ice, I lead with orange. And it's like, oh, I'm Christy, I lead with green.
Yes.
No, I know. And it was a way for you to get to know the person before even having like conversation. So I really appreciated that. Like, you set the tone at the event that it's really important to know yourself, and it's really important to know the strengths of others, because there should be synergy when you're working in multifamily real estate or just relationship building. So I thought it was one of the top valuable things that I learned this whole weekend.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The thing that was really cool in general about the event, but especially with Rosie, is how hands-on it was. So it was actually very interactive, where she said, okay, we're going to start, like, they set the tone for the entire weekend by setting goals and walking through, like, not just setting a goal for the weekend, but how you were going to achieve it using, like, you had to pull in what you knew from your Clifton strengths. So like, okay, these are my strengths. So how would I use my strengths in order to achieve this goal that I want? So they walked through, it was a sort of a combo of SMART goals and then also individualizing it to you based on, you know, how you would approach a problem. Because you and I could have the same goal, but we're probably going to meet it in two totally different ways. So I think it was super smart of them to start it with setting intention for yourself, like to force you to think about, what do I want to get out of the next 3 days? And how am I going to achieve that? And force you to put it onto paper and take the time to think. So everyone did that. And I think, you know, most people hit their goals, or at least felt really good about the progress they made. And I don't know that would have been the case. At least for me, it wouldn't have been the case if she hadn't walked us through that exercise. So
yeah, agreed 100% on that. I was able to achieve those goals as well, which was to walk away with some solid connections. Can't remember what the number was, but I definitely did it. And I mean, I've already mentioned, you know, I had multiple connections that are already producing results for us. So it was really cool.
I think you talked to a guy today who wanted to be a GP with you. From the Masterclass.
Yeah, he told me I was one of his highlights. Ayo.
Good for you.
On Andreas, the tallest dude in the room. He's like close to 7 foot tall. I don't know if you guys, maybe it was just me, but I stood next to him. I was like talking to him like this the whole time.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Dave Gree because I had the opportunity to do hot seat with him. So I got a lot of value from that conversation or interaction. And we'll talk about that later. But
yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many good things. Like I would have loved to listen to Rose. You know what? I get to watch the recording, right? So I'm gonna go back and watch it.
I was gonna say you should go through the recordings.
That's a good idea. Okay, so who was after Rosie?
So I think it was Nick. I think he talked about, it was either Veena spoke about. Did Veena talk about, actually, was it Nick, or did Veena go into like market analysis and kind of assessing a deal?
It might have been that. I think Nick spoke later throughout the weekend.
Or later in the day. I'm not sure. Our memories are a little fuzzy with the exact order of things, but.
I mean, imagine I was having a hard time telling her the night of, so I have no idea how we're having a conversation now.
Teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work.
Y'all will each remember different parts when you put it together.
Well, I do remember when Nick went to talk, a lot of people got a lot of value of that. And I mean, it was like a free consultation of just whatever we could think of in the moment. I mean, people asked so many questions, and we only got into like the second slide, and we had already been asking questions for like what, an hour or so to it.
Yeah.
Just the glossary slide. It was just the quick definition, so we could understand the rest of the slides. That's the slide that we were on. And he was just absolutely willing to answer anybody and everybody's questions with like, it was empathetic. He wasn't like annoyed or frustrated that we were all asking these questions and we hadn't even moved on from the slides yet. You know, you could tell, he mentioned that he was a professor as well. So you can tell that he truly enjoys being a professor, teaching and doing things like that. It was evident on the stage. I thought that was awesome. I always learn stuff from the time he talks.
I know. And I thought it was really cool that both him and Rosie opened up a Q&A on their stories after they spoke. And they were doing that all weekend, like answering questions in the corridors, answering questions online. So they gave a lot of their time and energy to us. I was very grateful.
Absolutely.
But I think it was Veena on day one. Going over market research, kind of the fundamentals of how to look at your market, what tools are necessary or helpful in searching the demographic or searching what's around your product. Are there railways? Are there like shopping centers? So I think those basics, I guess, really gave me good perspective coming from a less experienced background in multifamily. It's the little things that maybe you don't think are super important, but really drive how you're going to determine what market to choose and specialize in.
Yeah, and we were kind of already doing that on our end, but it definitely gave me more clarity on some of the things that we should be a little bit more specific on, and some of the things that maybe aren't as much of a concern, or maybe it's kind of on the back burner. And as long as this meets it first, then it's, you know, kind of up to us if we want to move forward with that. So there was a lot of things I picked up from that as well. Even though, you know, you call it the basics, but hey, everybody can always use a little bit of a refresher on the basics. That's for sure.
Yeah,
or go in a little deeper. One of the things she said that really stuck with me that I think was smart was she said, you want to say no as quickly as possible into as many deals as possible. So basically, what her point was is that you don't want to go into like underwriting and go into this long, like underwriting multifamily is a long process, hours and hours that you'll spend on just one deal. And you cannot get to scale and you can't get through and find the good deals if you're doing that on every single one. So I really liked how she said, you know, her team, it's like their goal is just let's as quickly as possible find and weed out what we don't want. So that's where you start with market. It's like, okay, make sure it's like if it doesn't meet that market, don't get tempted. Like you've picked your 3, you start with 3 or whatever it is as you're getting started, choose your markets. If it's not in that market, don't even look at it. You just say, sorry, not in my buy box. Come up with a defined buy box. And as tempting as it is, don't go after shiny objects. She's like, stay focused, say no, 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 no. And then even for the deals that come through that do start to meet the criteria, the fastest thing you want to do is find out what's wrong with it, and kind of like weed them out so that you can get to the good stuff. So I thought that was really good advice.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've said that at least 5 or 6 times since I've been back from the
He's
event.
been telling the team, he's been telling everybody, he's like, we got to get through all of the ones that are trash.
Let's get rid of that trash. Let's clear it out. Let's just not even look at it. So yeah, I didn't even remember that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been saying that like 1,000 times now. So I subconsciously like registered it and honed it in. So yeah, good, very good point. That was a really, really good takeaway, because a lot of people try and figure out, well, this deal is pretty great. I want to do it because of this, but yeah, we should figure out why we don't want to do it as quickly as possible. So, very, very good point.
Did you want to say anything else, Isa, before we move on?
He kind of towards the end mentioned the same something very similar. They were like, you have to figure out you want to question what's wrong with the deal. I think a lot of us want to go in and like make it work. And the best way to say no to it is finding out all the things that are wrong with the deal and then asking, okay, after we've solved that problem, what's another problem that could come from that? I think reverse engineering was a good theme that carried throughout the weekend. Like always process thought through reverse engineering, and then also trying to figure out, like you guys said, putting the no's up front, but figuring out all the things that are wrong in the beginning. So you spend way less time on the bad deals or even the good deals, because I've just recently learned through the mastermind and through podcasts and books that the biggest enemy to the great are the good. You're going to spend so much time on the good things when in reality, to scale quicker, you want to spend more time on the things that are great or perfect the things that will give you greatness.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Boom, I just took a nugget.
Good.
I'm adding to my chicken nugget dinner tonight. Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
Now, speaking of nuggets, can we just all take a moment and recognize that the first lunch was the best, and then it just got like downhill from there? Am I the one that felt that way?
I honestly don't remember. Was it Mexican food or?
Yeah, it was. Maybe that's why I like Mexican food. But
you're having favoritism.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize it, but I opened my big mouth in the line on the second day, and I was like, man, this is kind of disappointing or something, because we were making a sandwich. And I think the worker overheard me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I don't mean it to you. I was just like, I was expecting something else. And so I thought it was funny. I think Lelaine said something to me, or I didn't recognize that I did it. I was just, vocalizing. Anyways, let's move on. What did we do after lunch? I don't remember. What was the next topic?
I'd have to go through pictures to visualize.
One of the things, actually, now that I think about it, I think we did the underwriting afterwards. And then at some point, we had the underwriting game.
Deal or no deal. Was that day one?
I think that was day one. I'm pretty sure that was day one.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I have the workbook right here. I was checking to see if I had the agenda just to kind of freshen. But yeah, deal or no deal was really fun.
Yeah.
You said deal or deal. I think that's how a lot of people look at this stuff nowadays. Like, oh, it's a deal. That was a lot of fun. It really was, and it forced us to kind of rely on each other, because my team wanted me to just keep going up there, but we could only go up one time. And so I went up my one time, and that was it. So everyone was kind of nervous to kind of go up because they didn't want to be wrong or ruin it for the team. But I was like, no, just you got it. We'll give you the answer. Just go. It was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. It set the tone for the room that, hey, you know, we're here for business, but we're also here to have fun and have a really good time and get to know people, right? Because Christy, I think you told me this before, but the best networking is done when you're not networking. It's when you're like actually like having a good time with people and just being and having human connection. I think it was at community camp you told me that.
Probably that's been my biggest lesson this year. Thanks to Veena. It's just kind of the hallways are not always the hallways during the event. In my opinion, the hallways are before the event and after the event. That's what I've learned. I've had, you know, I've been very fortunate this year to go on a lot of like non-traditional conference type of events with Veena, and spent time, you know, some of my closest relationships, that's how they developed, because everyone's walls go down when you're in more of that vacay mode or just hanging out, having a good time. There's something different about when you walk into, you know, a conference room or something, and it's feels like all of a sudden, okay, what do you want? What do you need? Here's my name. You're speed dating, and it's just a different energy. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but when you're hanging out and you're sitting around, like, you know, we'll get into kind of the evenings and everything and what we did, but like the vibe and the energy that comes out, it just lets you relax and just be people. Because at the end of the day, it's great. You know, the experience that we have is great. The markets we're interested in is great. But we want to do deals with people who we know, like, and trust. And you can't know, that's how you get to know those people and on a more personal level and get to know who they are. So I totally agree with you. And Deal or No Deal was basically a game where leading up to it, we learned how to do some napkin underwriting. So we were taking, you know, going through the basic formulas of your NOI divided by the cap rate to get what the value of the property is, right? Or of the asset. And then we were mixing around that formula, and it was basically like word problems. And the entire room broke up into, I think it was 5 different groups. And we had to sit there as a group and work through the problem that went up, and then decide whether or not, based on that, if we were to offer at that price based on whatever the goal was or the other parameters of the question, if it would be considered a deal or if it was not a deal. And then you rush up, and they had the buzzers and everything where you hit it, where it was like big red, you know, deal and no deal. And then they were doing a score. So it was just, it was so much fun. And going into the event, I actually, right after Multifi was announced, and they had, you know, you sign up and you got the agenda. I looked at the agenda and I was like, wow, I'm surprised. It looks great, but I was really surprised. So actually, I messaged Veena and I'm like, this looks amazing. I was like, but how do you not have any game? Like Veena, she is, if you've been to anything with her, even if it's a meetup, like she thrives on not just games, but like team building and community and like just bringing everyone together. And I was looking at this and I'm like, wow, these are some long days. We're going from 9 to 5. It's back-to-back speakers in education, which is amazing for a masterclass. But considering she was the one running it, I was just like, this just feels like it's not quite you. Like where's our playtime in this, you know? So she left because she was like, okay, well, you know me well, but it's Deal or No Deal is a game. And I'm like, okay, all right, there's something in there. There's some games, but it got even better because then, you know, both nights, which I've never been to an event like this. I don't know if anyone else has, where there were like evening activities that were also scheduled for you. But we basically ran until like 5 p.m. each day, quickly went, changed, and then got onto a bus at like 6 o'clock. And they took us for dinner and, you know, an event. So that first night was amazing. That was probably my favorite. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was basically like the ultimate game night, which is why I brought that up. So as soon as we got there, I was like, all right, this all makes sense.
for everyone, it was, I mean, we might as well just talk about it. We're already there. I mean, no one really had any idea. We had no idea what to expect. all I know is I showed up, we filed out of the bus, single file line, and they just kind of funneled us into this room. And the next thing I know, like there's just lights going on all crazy. There's a big Wheel of Fortune, big giant like drop thing. I mean, it was crazy. It was a bunch of TV show games or game shows that I think both rooms were different. There was 2 separate rooms. Christy and I actually had the pleasure of being on Veena's team and seeing her Wheel of Fortune skills, and wow, it was incredible. She totally just carried the team the entire thing. It was an absolutely impressive event to witness. I was mind blown how she got the answers so fast every time.
It was so funny because there's probably, I don't know how many games you could play in each room. There are probably at least 10 different. It was one of those where it's like a random, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And there were like 3 or 4 different games that the whole group is competing on. So we have a group of, how many people were on our team, Joseph? It was probably like 10 people, maybe 15 on our team. And then we were playing against another team with the same number of people. And so you didn't really know, you see all these things in this room, but you have no idea what you're going to play. And they randomly chose Wheel of Fortune. And all of a sudden Veena like loses her cool because she goes, you guys, I was literally made for Wheel of Fortune. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is my thing. This is my like, and she's just freaking out. And we're all kind of like, okay, Veena, sure. Like, we know you're competitive. We know you're great at like some of these games, you know, but I'm like, okay, she's probably pretty good, but nothing like crazy. And then, like, I don't know if it was the first one, but it was for sure by the second one. Literally, the Wheel of Fortune boards are blank. It just tells you whatever the thing at the top, phrase, or, you know, whatever the small hint is. She was solving them in, I kid you not, like 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds while it's blank. Like before the person spun the wheel to find out what they could like reveal or do, she would be like, I know what it is. And we were just like,
just like that too.
How? It's all blank. There's nothing. And she literally did that. I think she did it 5 times.
Oh, more than that. Easy. Yeah. There were so many that she did.
It was crazy. It was the craziest thing. We all were like, okay, 100%. Yep. Your gift is not multifamily. It's actually Wheel of Fortune. Because she was that good. But it was so fun.
The funniest part, I don't know, I think you know this, but her mom, Veena's mom, was on the opposite team.
So bad, yeah.
And they were not family members at that point. They were like complete rivals. It was pretty cool to witness. It was funny. Definitely a good time.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened in the other room, to be honest.
Was Isa in the other room?
I definitely not the Wheel of Fortune. I was on Nick's team, and we did stuff like tic-tac-toe. But in order to get tic-tac-toe, you had to have 2 people come up, 1 person from each team. There's a phrase on the board, like let's say it's apple blank, and everyone has to guess on our team what the person up front is thinking. So they write down, let's say they write down B for apple B. We have to strategize as a team. What do we think that is the most common thing? And what do we think that they're going to say? The team we competed against was insanely good. Like, they got it every time. I'm not sure if they cheated. Whoever's out there and is watching, I feel like you guys were cheating. They got every round 100%. I'm like, that is insane telepathy or some collaboration going on the side. But it was good competition. And like you guys were saying, I've never had bonding events like that at a conference or I would have never anticipated that. And the vulnerability and just like letting loose and being friendly, competitive, really brought us all together and set the tone for the dinner after, which I think is more of the networking, business related events. But we did a flip cup, like with giant red solo cups.
Oh, I saw videos of that one.
Yeah, I want to share that video of Sue. She hit everyone back to back. She was like, carried our team. We put her up as the solo one-on-one round, and we won because of her. So I thought that was really funny.
Let's go,
Me
Sue.
too.
Yeah,
Sue
would've-
the solo cup.
For anyone that doesn't know Sue, she's a short little woman, and she absolutely apparently crushes it at Flip Cup. So if you're looking for a good party, you should be hitting up Sue.
I love
Yeah,
her.
Sue
She's
down.
lovely. I would have never expected her to dominate.
Yeah,
That's
me neither.
awesome.
That would have been cool to witness.
I think it's crazy. Like when I saw y'all story, that's what I was living through in the moment. I was like, what? Y'all are still going? Like, normally you go to an event and it ends at like 5, and then maybe you hang out a few hours after and mingle, and then that's the end. And then I see everybody's story. They're getting on a bus. They're going to this nice dinner, and then they're like playing games. I'm like, dang. I was like, when does this event end? I was like, wow, like I've never seen an event like that, and it looked like so much fun. I was like, wow, she really put a lot of thought and effort into this, and I wouldn't even have known where to find this game place in the first place, but I thought that was really cool. I was like, I wonder if they have one here where we live. I would enjoy doing that with some friends. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
it was very
Yeah, I think both nights or all of the nights we ended up ending at like 10:30 is when the buses dropped back off. And then I don't know about you guys, but I kept going out after that too. I was like, I'm here to make some connections. So the very first night, I don't know if y'all got to meet Elena, but she just pulls up in her Mercedes and she's like, "What's up, Joseph? We'll go smoke some cigars." And I was like, it's like, let's go. She's like, all right, I'm waiting on your boy, my partner Matthew Lopez and Michael Hawk. So it was the 4 of us. We ended up running down the road. Yeah, of course, Mike was there. And shout out Mike the Hawk, man. He treated all of us and took care of all of us. I mean, I don't smoke cigars, so I was like, look, man, just whatever you want to get, or I'm good with whatever. Like, let's just do it. So I ended up having a really good time, made some really good one-on-one connections with them, and looking forward to some future relationships with those guys. It was a good first night, that's for sure. We haven't even talked about the second day.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Do y'all have anything else to say about day 1 before we move on to day 2?
I think we covered the majority of it.
Day 2. Who was speaking day 2? Was that Bo?
No, Bo was on day 1.
I think it was day 1 at the end.
Day 1. I guess we didn't really cover that. It was a good little underwriting session. We didn't really do any actual underwriting. It was more on the theories and potential assumptions and kind of like the mindset of what you're thinking going through when underwriting. I don't know what else you guys want to say about that one. All right. Good there.
Yeah, I think that the only thing I'll add that stuck out to me is it was very clear when he was up there, that was the first time that I had ever seen or heard from Bo. So I didn't know anything about him other than they said like I think he's known for underwriting. And as soon as he started talking, it's like, he's just the kind of person that you're like, wow, like you are on just like this other level with thinking, like he's answering questions in a way that he's describing it, how he visualizes it in Excel. Like he's like, oh, it's hard for me to, tell you, I'm picturing the formula and where it in, you're just, when you're in that presence of someone like that, yeah, it's just really inspiring because just like, wow, like I'm so impressed because, I'm an underwriter and I don't like, he was a different level of kind of thinking in that way. And so it was cool to see. And yeah, you could tell it was like, he's someone that very clearly, very quickly, you're like, okay, this guy is very smart, very experienced, really knows his stuff with underwriting.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me again, as someone who doesn't come from an underwriting background or isn't like, hasn't perfected that part of multifamily, that I have a lot of learning to do. So it was really good perspective to hear his thought process and visualization, but a lot of it I need to work on. I was like, I'm gonna go through that course. I got to do my reps with stuff like deal or no deal problems. So really cool hearing from him. But
I'm right with you. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I know he did a module as well in the recording stack. I have yet to watch, so I'm excited to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
Day 2.
Me too.
Man, day 2, I woke up late. I'm not gonna lie. Too many cigars. No, I'm just kidding. I got there a little bit after the start, and I think we had another gift. Was that right away? I know we had another gift.
Was that day 2? Nick's our Oprah moment with Nick.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
fun.
That was
Yeah,
right away.
They started off with a bang on day 2. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the gift? For those who don't know.
Well, let's tell how it was revealed, because that was
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't told this.
no, it wasn't just getting a gift.
We came, and Veena got on stage. Nick is about to go on and talk about like his segment and funds, and they're like, we have a surprise for you guys. If you guys all look under your seat, I thought it was really cool. Like you said, it was an Oprah moment, and I couldn't even find the gift at first because I was like,
Oprah moment.
Yeah, that's what Christy said.
He's just
like, you get a car, you get a car. At first I was like, oh, I don't have anything under my seat, but it was actually like taped to the bottom because it's a gift card, and Nick had gifted all of us $4,000 of credit towards Polymath Legal PC, which is his company, for when we want to start our first fund of funds or work with him directly. So it was a gift he gave to every person at the masterclass. And I was just blown away. I was speechless, honestly, because I was like, wow, they continuously exceed the high expectation that I already had. And I was like, I didn't think that they could pour more into what they've already created, but it was really cool. Shout out to Nick. Thank you guys so much.
Shout out to Nick. That right there alone pretty much made it worth it. I mean, I was going to use Nick anyways for all of our stuff, just because I like how he operates and his integrity and just so many things about him. But then, that's just a cherry on top. We're definitely coming. We'll see you soon, Nick.
Yeah. It was really cool. I know he had said that his peak was definitely once he gave the gift cards out, because everyone then started chanting his name. So it's like a whole room full of people going, Nick, 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 and like clapping. And he's like just videoing like the biggest grin on his face. And he was like, that was my moment. Like, you just
I thought that felt good internally to like give like that. That's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really
So
cool.
that was awesome. Plus his whole segment was one of, I know there were quite a few people on day 1 I was talking to and asking, like, what are you looking forward to and everything. And so many people were really excited for Nick to come up because his topic was funds and fund of funds. So going over all of that, the different structures you can do. One, to do a fund, he explained the differences between like a blind fund or a semi-blind fund or a direct fund, different ways you can structure if it's open and it's ongoing or if it's just deal specific, and then also fund of funds. So a lot of kind of legal structure and the parameters around that, and then kind of talking about the lawful ways to raise equity and kind of common mistakes of trading, GP equity for specific, dollar amounts coming in. And he covered all of that stuff. So I know a lot of people, were excited to have him up. And then once he was up, to Joseph's point, it was like just question after question. And it was definitely, I feel like everyone was very excited, and he was a great highlight of the weekend. So.
Mm-hmm. Gave so much clarity, like
Mm-hmm.
breaking down everything and visualizing on the board what are the differences between the different setups. And I think that clarity gave people the confidence to then mingle and start stepping into that reality. Like, I can start a fund. And then it tied into Rosie's segment of, okay, what are my strengths and what can I do to start this fund? Like, what role would I be taking on and what partners do I need? So they set it up very perfectly, all the speakers and the topics aligned.
So I'm orange, Isa's orange, Christy's green, Joseph's purple. How would those, not to go too deep into this, but surface level, like how would each of those colors focus on doing a fund in the first place?
well, it's not necessarily just the colors, right? That's just what you have the majority of with your top 10. It's going to be more specific to what those actual specifics are, right? Because yours is orange, but you also have a lot of green. So you're able to kind of think ahead and be strategic about the things that you want to take action on. But you don't have a lot of the purple traits. So you don't really take the action. But you have me, very heavy with the purple. So I do take the action. So that's how we work together pretty well. But to answer your question accurately, we kind of need to know the rest of the traits as well and how they all kind of work together within ourselves, and then how those intertwine with each other's specific skill sets as well.
Okay, well then, really quick.
We need to get Rosie on here.
Really quick. We should actually. We should all come on here again. Isa, what would you need to focus on to start a fund with your strength?
Well, for orange, it's leading with influencing. I think that my strengths for my experiences and what I'm good at now is influencing through social media, or I'm focused on that. I want to build on that because I've seen so much power in building your brand online and being able to just share your story and how influential that is, because then other people know the reality of doing multifamily, or they're interested and it's sparked like, oh, I need to diversify my portfolio, and getting private money through social media. So I want to connect my past experiences on social media marketing and bring that into capital raising. So yeah, I feel like for me, influencing is, I feel more suited towards capital raising and building those relationships in person. I'm being approaching others, asking what they do. That's me though. What do you think, Christy? How about leading with green?
So green is strategic thinking, which can be a good thing because, to put it at a very high level, KJ, to answer, your question, if you were to totally generalize just using the 4 categories and those 4 colors, so you have orange, which is influencing, green, which would be strategic thinking, blue would be relationship building, and purple's kind of the executing. At a very, very high general level, ignoring everything else, you might have, someone, the orange, that Isa would be more of like that capital raising, like out there on the podcast, on the stage, in front of a camera. That's kind of the stereotypical role. The blue is the relationship building. So that would be kind of building those relationships with, with prospective investors and going deep with them. And green would be more of probably the overall strategy. Like, okay, who is our avatar? Where would they be? Isa, you should be going to these sorts of events because these are the kinds of people that we're going to be looking for to come into our fund. So spend your time doing these things. In social media, they're most likely to be at this point in the funnel. So let's, curate content that hits them on these pain points and at this point in their journey, so they'd be more likely. So it's a lot of like thinking about those pieces and kind of the overarching of the team, like, how are we going to approach this? And then your purples would be more of the executing, the doing. A lot of the time, the purples are like integrators. So it might be more of like the systems and the processes of like helping to get all of these things done. It might include things like back-end, systems, or the actual applications you're using, like getting those CRMs set up, getting your portal, all of that sort of stuff. So at a very high level, that could be how, like if a team of 4, if they each led with those different areas, what it could look like in the different roles. But to Joseph's point, even though, like for me, for example, I lead with green and I do have a lot of green over analyzing and thinking and all that in mind. But I also have 2 of them are purple. There's the slowest and most thinking of the purples. And then right up behind that is a lot of blue. So to, Rosie's point, even though you're top 5, you're often pulling in strengths from other areas that are below it. So like your top 10 strengths, you might use a lot because you're constantly leaning and pulling those in. So
that answered my question perfectly.
Okay.
Get to get spoken and like great with descriptive language.
Yes,
I
yeah.
can
I love.
visualize very clearly when you speak.
Sometimes I just like I don't even want to answer. I just want to hear Christy's answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember the post you made in Rosie's group about communication, and like I would have thought that would be your number one.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I get that feedback, but her answer in that post was beautiful because she said, you know, when she described him, like, yes, that's me. And in the Gallup's test, when I took the assessment, I'm like, I feel like I have so much in my head and I can't get it out. You know, like it's perfect. And then I go to speak and it all is dissolved and just melted away. But if I'm in more of an instructive role where I'm just sharing what I've learned, like it's not about me or trying to take the thoughts that are a little bit more, I'll say abstract. I don't know if that's the right word, but not about me, but it's more about like, here's what I know or I learned and I'm instructing you. I think that's where it comes out and it's more clear. So she was saying that's probably what it is. So
That's awesome. And I feel like we could do a whole thing on our strengths. So let's go back.
No. On that, actually, I don't think it was planned, but I think on the last day they had Nick and Rosie come back on stage because everybody requested more of them. So we could have done an entire Zoom and weekend on just those two right there, but they were, you know, the big hits. They were requested for more stuff.
Like so many people, Max, he's the same way with the green. He says it all just fizzles away when he starts talking. I think Joel's the same way.
Yeah. Joel's green. Yep.
Yeah,
you guys see me, you see me. Yeah, the other thing on day 2 that was cool is we did a breakout session on, because they went over investor avatars and how to everyone to figure out who your investor avatar is and go through that exercise. We spent time actually brainstorming and writing the investor avatar. And then we broke out into groups to practice our pitches. And for me, that was probably one of the highlights also of day 2 was getting feedback from a group of like 10 people of, okay, here's my pitch. And then they said, you know, we all helped to refine everyone's like elevator pitch, basically. So that I thought was a really valuable kind of little mini workshop that happened on day 2.
Is the elevator pitch like telling someone what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Because I get stumped on that all the time. Someone's like, what do you do? And I was like, I don't know how to answer. I told him, I was like, what do I tell them?
It's funny because she actually did that to me the other day.
At a wedding, yeah.
At the wedding, she was having a conversation with someone, and she, I don't know, was in the middle of it and turned to me and said, hey, babe, how do I explain what we do? And so I just threw out my elevator pitch right then and there.
I know. I was like, let me hear it again. Tell everybody what your elevator pitch is. On the spot.
Yeah.
I'm going to put all y'all on the spot. I want to hear.
Oh, no.
It's probably going to be rough. I wasn't ready for this. But actually, I say that we help new and experienced investors secure passive, tax-efficient investments that are backed by real estate. And we have a resource and a community that teaches this as well.
Dang. Okay.
You practiced.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times now. I actually told Veena that, and she was like, how did you do? And I was like, well, I felt pretty comfortable with it. She's like, you better be. You've done this enough times. So, yeah, that felt good. It felt good that she recognized that we're somebody that's a mover in this space, even though we're not like super big fish, but we're doing stuff. We're active. And that was another thing I really like about Veena. She's able to kind of see those things, just like Pace, right? Pace is really good at that too. Mm-hmm. But I feel like she has that skill set in being able to kind of pinpoint where people are pretty good.
Okay, Isa, I want to hear your pitch.
I have not gotten the privilege to practice like Joseph has, but when they asked me, what is my investor avatar? They asked, who is the network that you're already around and surrounded by? Like, what comes up in your head? And for me, I'm surrounded by a lot of family-oriented people. I made my investor avatar like a mom, like in her 40s or older. They're looking to retire soon. So, and I'm around a lot of people in healthcare because my mom is a nurse and just a lot of family members are in healthcare. So I say that I help healthcare providers retire early and get through investing in multifamily real estate. Mine is not going to flow, but I also say something about tax efficient double-digit returns by getting tax efficient double-digit returns in multifamily investments.
That's good. I like that.
It flows better when I read it, but I will practice it. The point is to highlight what resonates with my investor avatar that I'm speaking to. So healthcare, retiring early, sparks their interest, tax efficient, double-digit returns. And so as long as I can get a flowing statement hitting those 4 points, I'll be good. Right now, did not hit the flow, but I hit the points. So
Yeah, I was like, you did better than I did. I literally turned to Joseph. I'm like, what do I tell her?
And she's raised money before, so you don't feel bad.
It's because sometimes I feel like if I say I buy apartments and things like that, I feel like people judge me and think like I'm some rich person. You know, sometimes I feel like that connotation comes off, and then I feel like I don't know. I could go into that, but I never want someone to feel like I'm bragging because it's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to say like I provide opportunities for people to get into this, and I need to work on my elevator pitch anyways. Okay, let's hear Christy's. I'm going to take bits and pieces from all of y'all.
All right, so I have not practiced it since then, but my investor avatar is a small business owner, probably in their 40s with a family. And so mine's a little bit different because as a small business owner, depending on how you're structured, most of them probably are not investing for tax advantage because you're a small business. You already have a lot of tax advantage. So it's usually not an income issue or reducing like your taxable income. It's about one, building kind of that long-term generational wealth, which you might be doing through your business, but it's like an added avenue to help achieve that. Then two, the biggest thing is kind of helping to relieve the stress of a varying income. If you're the business owner, then your cash flow might jump, it fluctuates over time. And you're probably living what I call distribution to distribution. So instead of paycheck to paycheck, it's like you're used to like big chunks of cash at certain points. So mine is structured very specifically to kind of that avatar. But mine was something to the effect of, I am a real estate investor and I help small business owners to achieve to create generational wealth and to relieve the stress of living distribution to distribution by creating an additional income stream that is passive. And I do that by focusing primarily on multifamily assets.
Yeah, that was good.
I'd love to learn more. That sounds really interesting. How can I learn more?
Well, you can come follow me over on Instagram.
Answer this question from Joel. It's exactly what Isa just said. Said what comes next once you make that pitch? Well, they're typically going to ask you some questions like, wow, that sounds interesting. Even if they don't really care, they're probably going to ask you a little bit more about it because it's kind of rude not to, just in general. More than likely, they're going to ask you follow-up questions, and you got to be prepared to kind of, with your expertise, start answering those questions. And so that's what comes next after that.
Mm-hmm. Those are good because I like how you each have a different investor avatar and how that changes what you say and how you go about it and who you target. So I think that was a really good nugget that I got from all of you, is that you first need to take a step back and recognize and figure out who is your investor avatar, because otherwise it's kind of like, what's the saying? What is the saying? Like,
if you speak to everyone, then you're speaking to no one.
Yes.
Perfectly. Yes.
They said that at the event too.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking, is like, you really need to know who to talk to. So that was a good nugget that you got. I'm giving lots of value.
Nuggets.
I did nuggets.
That's at least 3 or 4 nuggets for the night. We got a small kids meal, so let's go up to the 10 piece. Hey, I like to have fun, man. If we're not having fun, there's no point to anything we're doing. I mean, we're up. It's 10:50 almost right now.
Oh my gosh.
And we're out here just having a good time.
Okay.
I think it's only appropriate that we're up late discussing this, considering how late our nights were at the Multifi event.
Yeah.
Since we were out till like 10:30 and then coming back and hanging out in the lobby in the resort until like 1 a.m.
And that was
All those-
Pacific time.
Keeping the party going.
Yeah. So anybody that was not in Pacific time, it was way ahead. It was late.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I appreciate you guys coming on here late anyways, because it's the only time both of us can be together when Sailor's sleeping. So I just want to say thank you. And to everyone who's watching too, who's up late with us.
Oh, especially some of you over there. I see some of you over there in Texas and Central Time. And oh, wow. For the East Coast, okay, you're really late then.
Shout out to Cooper,
At least
man.
Nice and I are Pacific Time. And
That's awesome.
Well, asked a good question too.
What'd you say?
Which one?
Well, asked another question too, a follow
This
up.
one?
Mm-hmm.
He said, so how is other goals coming along? Health, fitness, mindset, spiritual. How are you all doing that? What improvements are y'all making? Man, that is a good question. I got prepared like I had the pitch ready.
Now you feel like Isa and Christy.
No, I'm definitely using improvement. That's what I was saying.
What did you say?
Oh, I was just saying could definitely use improvement. I mean, me personally, I always want to get better. So I'm not gonna lie and say I'm in tip top shape. You know, I want to get better just overall. Always. But I know you were going to answer something I said so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It was
You're good. Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. It's a continuous learning journey. Like you're never gonna be perfect. And I think the balance is the hardest aspect when you work in this industry or in business, because that work-life balance is subjective. But I will say that in investing in personal development, it bleeds into every aspect of my life: health, fitness, mindset, spirituality. So I would say that in this season of my life, I have been prioritizing personal development more than I have in my past. And I've equally seen more growth in all other aspects of spiritual connection, feeling grounded, positivity mindset. I don't think it's coincidences that come with the learning a new nugget and then seeing. There's this phrase where, like, if you learn about a new car model, then you somehow start seeing more of the same car model. But it's not because it comes up more; it's because you're noticing it more. And so the question disappeared, but I hope that kind of answers it. That's how I've been improving, is my intentionality, and then also pouring that into every aspect of both business and personal.
Preach it. That was good.
Okay, good.
The whole thing on it too.
She could. I mean, we're already an hour, 18 minutes.
And we
into
still
this.
got to do
We still have
space.
a whole day.
No,
Day 3.
that's good. I totally agree with that, and I can. Yeah, I won't preach about it, but I totally agree with everything you said.
Yeah. So let's do day 3.
Well, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Day 2, there's something, because one of my other favorite parts of day 2 that I really want to say is that Priya spoke at the end of day 2. And Priya, she was actually really sick. Like, she came in, I think Monday or so, she flew from Georgia and got into Arizona, and she wasn't able, she was so sick that she didn't attend the networking thing. She did not attend day 1 even. And I know that that was really challenging for her, because she is the kind of the behind the scenes of making a lot of this happen, even though Veena is the face of it. So for her, she's also an introvert. So for her to come up and to speak and to be a part of the panel and the main speakers, I was, personally, I was very excited to see her up there, because I know for her, she's similar, I think, kind of to how I am. I don't like to be up on a stage. It's like, that would be a very big commitment for me and a big deal to work towards, to be up there and doing what she did. And it was amazing to watch her step into that role. And it was very cool because Shobha was there, who is Veena and Priya's mom. And she pulled up, she was sitting in the back for the whole, for day 1 and day 2. But when it got to at the end of day 2, when Priya's speaking, she pulls her chair up to the very front row. She's in the middle of the aisle, sitting right up front, and like literally just like this, just like watching Priya. And I'm pretty sure she was probably crying up there, because I know I definitely teared up. But that was just so cool to see, because you could feel like just that mom pride, and just, she ended up speaking about it later on in the event, just talking about how proud she is, because she's like, Priya was the one, she's never talked, and she was so quiet. Veena did all the talking for her, all of her childhood. I never thought I would see, Priya up on a stage. And so for her, she was just so blown away to watch her daughter, like this massive growth, and, and to see that in her, and then to witness that. I don't know. I thought it was so cool. So I just wanted to share that before we, jump to day 3 and everything. So
I love that.
Yeah. I had actually told Veena that was one of the highlights for me, is when her mom, she took the mic and said all those nice things about both of them. I thought it was pretty cool. That was really cool.
I do want to ask, what did Priya talk about? I'd like to go a little deeper into that. I missed that information, or I guess surface level, because I can go rewatch it. But for those who don't have access, because I heard that she gave a bunch of folders away.
Yeah, basically the entire layout of their Google Drive system. She gave us all the folders that they use, so we can essentially copy their entire structure, which is not a small thing. Like, if you took a look at our Google Drive, you'd be like, what a hot mess compared to what they had. It was just so satisfying to just look at the structure and like the format of it. It was really great to see. And that was just one thing that she did for us. She also went deeper into the brand concept and what a brand truly is, and how you can create it to say what you want it to say, and a lot more specifics around that. But those were 2 of like the major points that I know that she talked about for sure. Am I missing anything there? I'm sure, with the details and specifics.
I think you covered the gist. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know one thing that a lot of people are excited about was that she spent some time talking about, if you're an introvert, how you can network, and how like the what you can do to make it easier. And the number of people that approached her and were like, thank you for this. Because no one ever really addresses. It's like the advice that even that Veena gives. It's like, oh, go do this when you're at a networking thing. And it's like, as someone who's also kind of introverted, there's so many things that I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool for you. No, thank you. There's no way I'm doing that. But she actually gave really, really good advice on quite a few things of, what to do to make it more approachable, make it more manageable. And there was a lot, quite a few people in the room that, were so thankful to her and really appreciated it and resonated with. So I thought that was cool, because I've never seen that before. Someone sort of addressed that.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to point out that she led through example, and then encouraged other introverts to come on stage, which I was rooting for you, Joseph. I heard you. You're like, oh, God, I don't know. And I was like, bring him on there. But I also thought it was cool that they had a stage full of women who came up. And you could tell that they just really respected and were grateful for Priya going up there and like encouraging them to step into that side of their character. Pauline spoke, like that was one of my favorite parts of, every day we did a recap or pits and peaks. That was one of my peaks of that day, was seeing them come up there and feeling really empowered because of Priya and the energy, the safe space that we've created as a community, and the diversity in the room. Like, that is one thing I really want to point out from this mastermind that I found really special, was that there was a diverse group of people, of personalities, backgrounds, a lot of women. Like, I know that's not very common, but I feel very blessed to start my journey with that standard and to create that standard over time. So
yeah, that was pretty cool, actually, is that I felt the majority of the room was women, actually. And I know, and Christy, you were in my hot seat group, there was only 2 guys, and there was that 20 people in the group, some close to that at least, and there was only 2 guys out of the entire group. The rest was all women. So I thought that was pretty cool. And as the husband of a strong woman, I definitely support that and want that for her as well. So that was really cool. I did enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the introvert thing, I actually had the opportunity to speak with Pauline after that, and it was cool to kind of get her perspective on how it made her feel. And she opened up and mentioned that she was super nervous, and she was like scared that people were going to see that she was shaking on the stage. And I was like, no, none of us could even tell. And she was like, and I was like stumbling over my words and all this, and I was like, would have never even known. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, we were all just happy that you were up there and saying something. So I thought that was really cool, and I just want to point out again, that she provided that opportunity for people to get up. And the reason I was like hesitant to do it is because I'm introverted, but I'm like an extroverted introvert. I have no problem getting up on a stage and saying whatever. I mean, I come on these Zooms all the time, so I'm like an ambivert. I'm right in the middle. I prefer to be by myself more than anything, rather than out hanging around. So that's why I say I'm an introvert, but I am not shy at all. I have no problem hopping up. I would have jumped up there on stage and been totally fine to give a whole topic of discussion. I feel like I do it all the time nowadays. But yeah, I've wanted the opportunity for somebody else that would have benefited from it more, right? But if no one's going to go, I would have gone up there all day.
Yeah.
That was my reasoning, just for clarity.
Attention.
Yeah.
For those who are still on here, we would appreciate all of you if you guys could shout us out, take a screenshot, let them know what you've learned, help us get the word out there, follow us on Instagram. All of us are here. We would appreciate the love and support. And I know we've been on here for quite some time, so let's get to day 3 and finish up so that way we can all go lay in bed and have a good night. It's been so much value. I think we're just gonna have to have another Zoom and come on and like break down our strengths and then break down mindset and all of that. I love all of that stuff. It's very fascinating to me. So I would love to do another I say Zoom, but live on YouTube. And all right, so let's dig into day 3, and that way I know we got people on the East Coast. It's now the next day.
Trooper.
All right, whoever wants to start day 3.
The hot seat, I guess. I mean, that was one of the big ones for sure. Like I said, I had a group of all women. I had the opportunity to go up there and get some input on some additional, like what I was questioning about is just ways that I can be just a better leader in general. It's never something I really wanted to do. It's kind of just, fell into my lap, that position. And, now I'm embracing it wholeheartedly, but I wanted to see from other people's perspectives on, what they're doing and what's working for them and things like that. So I did get some good insights on some stuff there. But it was really cool to kind of see specifically our group with Christy and I. And we were in a lot of groups together, Christy. It was cool to see the others. There was definitely some emotions from some of the people. I'm not going to name any names, but definitely some emotions shared within our group. And it was cool to see everyone kind of rally around them and provide that support and just kind of be there. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people got a lot of value out of the hot seats, and it was basically broken up into, I think, 5 or 6 groups. So each of the speakers basically headed up one group of hot seats. In day 3, we actually, Pace came and he spoke as well. So he gave a really good, powerful, presentation and everything. And some of the feedback that I got from that, or that I kept hearing, is a lot of people said with all of the times they've heard Pace speak, this was one of like their best or favorites in terms of what he covered. And so that was cool to hear. But so he headed up one of the hot seats. Veena had one, Priya, Rosie, who was in our group. And then I believe Nick had one as well.
I really want to speak on Pace's segment, but my dog is drinking water in the back, and I didn't want it to be disruptive. You guys let me know if I should mute again, but
You're fine.
yes. I'm in sub 2, and I've heard Pace speak a lot as well. But this one specifically, he was preaching. His energy was there. He was very present and spoke like through us. But also, I felt super moved because the topic was 5 things I wish I knew when I was 20. And I feel very, very blessed to be one of the youngest in the room. Or like I was sitting next to Catherine and Alexis, and they're both 19. And it speaks a lot to my mission too. Like he's here to fast track all the, sorry if my dog barks, to fast track all the value here. I'm gonna take her out really quick, but I'll come back and finish that thought if Christy wants to add on to Pace's speech. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that was cool is he actually started it out by bringing Rosie up on stage. And he said one of the things he wished that would have had the most impact very early on was understanding your strengths. So doing something like a Clifton Strengths assessment, and then having someone who's experienced in that to be able to talk you through it so you can understand and get to know yourself. Like knowing yourself was one of his key things. And so it was cool because she came on stage and she was literally going through, so this is one of your strengths. She talked about his top 5 strengths and then how she sees it come up with him. And so even as he was up there kind of talking about things, she would then point out, well, that's your, I forget what each of the ones was, your connectedness, and this is your, maximizing or what activator. I forget its exact one, so I could be wrong, but it was kind of cool to see that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it really was.
Isa's back.
Hello. Yes, she is successfully gone out. But I really liked that part too, because there were some factors or strengths for Pace that she was connecting. He's strong at this aspect, and that's what ties into the activator role. And it helped for us who shared those strengths to be able to be like, oh, how does that apply to me? Like, what habits do I do that I can I have to be wary of that could also be my weakness, but also leverage as a strength. So that in combination with how can I use my strengths that I know now and apply it as a 20-something-year-old to the points that he was speaking on. But I was just saying it was really, really moving to hear those and be privileged to have that advice really early, have his advice be really fast-tracked based off the mistakes he's made in the past 10 plus years. And then that he was super passionate to share that with us, and how I have that same passion. Like, okay, I'm 20, but I want to give that to teens, or like I want to give that to people who are or kids way younger than me. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and one of the things I definitely agree with the statement, and I've heard Pace speak multiple times, at least in the double digits for sure. I've been in sub 2 for 3 years, almost 3 years now. And it'll be 3 years in December, and so we've heard him speak many, many times. But I don't know, maybe it was just the atmosphere of the room. Maybe Veena just set it up or did some kind of Veena aura with it. But it was a really, really good conversation and speech from him. And one of the things, which I actually told you earlier today too, not even thinking about it, was it's never about the deal or the money. It's about the relationships that come from doing it, right? And so I've always thought I did that, right? I never really cared about the money, but subconsciously I did. And it wasn't until I heard that and kind of processed it and internalized it that I was able to really come to terms with that. And we have a couple of deals going on right now that have a bunch of issues, wholesale stuff. And I don't know, I guess I'm at peace with it. I'm able to kind of just be like, look, we're going to get it done. We're just going to move past it. And we're going to find all these additional relationships because of this pivot that we have to make. And it's going to help us here, here, and here. So I was able to kind of take a step back and see that. And I believe it's from hearing that and kind of internalizing and really taking to heart that one specific one. There was definitely others, but that was probably the one highlight for sure from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did tell
And
me
it was,
that.
yeah, it was nice to hear him acknowledge, like, I know the one common theme for me, I'm not in sub 2, but I know a lot of people who are in sub 2. And the story I hear over and over and over again is usually someone's been in sub 2 for about a year and they're like, oh my gosh, I joined sub 2 and there's so much good stuff. So I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. And then I realized I spent a whole year and I've just been learning and I haven't done anything. And now I'm focusing and now I'm just doing this or just doing this and this. And like, so he talked about that. He said, it's very tempting when you're getting started to be like, this is my path. And you pick one, right? You're like, I'm going to be wholesaling. But then you look over here and it's like, oh my gosh, but ISA's doing really well with midterm rentals. You know, I'm just going to start doing some midterm rentals. And you start comparing yourself to each path, right? Oh, so-and-so now they're doing, you know, they're doing reps and they're doing, and you start jumping, you start doing all these things and you can't gain the momentum. He's like, instead, pick one path and just stay on it. Because what happens is, he said, with every deal, go back, do an assessment as you go through. What is the story? Every deal should come with a story. And then you've gained 3 things from it. And you should actually like debrief and write these down and collect them. Because he's like, 1 is relationships, 2 is resources, and 3 is skills. And he's like, every deal, you've got a story and you have those 3 things. And your job is just to pick your path, stay on your path. Who cares what everyone else is doing? Stick on your path. Because if you continue, guess what? You're going to succeed. And the whole goal is as you continue along the path, you continue to collect those 3 things. And then guess what happens? You move and you're further along in the path and you've collected all these skills, resources, and relationships as you go. Then later on, you look over and guess what? Isa has done the same thing. She's over here on her path and Joseph is over here on his path. And what happens at that point is you get to start collaborating with each other and sharing resources and skills and relationships, and then doing things together in new ways. So it was like you can still get value from the different paths without being on them yourself. And for me, that was really validating because I feel like that's what I've tried to do without thinking about it that eloquently. But I was like, you know what? Multifamily is all I've known. I get super tempted because I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should learn something about wholesaling because I'd make some money or I do this. But you know, I also was like, I'm building all these great relationships. And if I'm interested in one of these things, I now can start to like build these relationships with people who are really good at that thing. And we can partner together and I can bring something else to the table, you know? So I think that, I don't know, for me, that was probably one of the most powerful, like within his speech, is to kind of hear that and give you something tangible to do moving forward. Like I've never really reflected in that way of like, oh yeah, let's create a story around like, a story of each of these deals and what did I get out of it and kind of go into that.
I 100% agree. Mine was going to say the same thing, reflection. The reflection point was my favorite nugget. And then not only hearing the points that he was saying, because I think Joseph covered it, or probably all 3 of us said, we've heard these points before, but the way he said it and the energy he gave with the points, or maybe it was like that I wasn't ready to hear those points before, like 4 months ago. If he told me like the deal is not the deal, it's the relationships, resources, skills, I'd be like, yes, but I'm also really broke, Pesa, and I really want the money. So I need this wholesale deal. But I was both ready to hear what he had to say. And I really enjoyed the visualization when he got up and was like, I'm on this path and I'm collecting all these things. And when me and Christy are on this path and we cross paths, that was my favorite part. I was like, oh my God, that's really cool. That I never seen it or visualized that in that way. And it's just reassuring because now you guys are on a path either together or you create a new path and you create more relationships, resources, and skills. So you said it perfectly.
As always.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got a 10-pack of chicken nuggets.
Oh, easily.
20.
We're probably working up there in the 20-piece nuggets.
I know, for real.
For sure.
So what's the dessert? How are we gonna end it?
All right. Well, the dessert is something I think for me that we haven't even gotten yet or haven't seen. But that was after that is when Priya released. She basically said, guys, we told you we would have full transparency and we're giving away everything. So she, Joseph mentioned earlier, like the Google Drive, but she actually is giving us all of her SOPs that have been written to date for Vive funds. So I think she said they have right now 150, maybe 200 SOPs. All these different like checklists and templates that track everything. So Blue Sky filings as you go through, investor distribution trackers. I mean, there's like literally an entire gold mine that has taken them a decade to kind of pull in, refine, build these things. And if you were part of the Multifi Masterclass, like it's just being released to us. So I think everyone was blown away, and you could see Veena like sweating bullets. She was like, "Oh, wait, we're actually giving away all of it." She's like, "Oh, we're doing this too." So she said she was a little nervous about that and felt vulnerable in that. And she was like, "I thought I had an abundance mindset. Maybe I need to work on it a little bit." So it was kind of cool.
She said exactly that.
That is so insane. Like that alone makes the masterclass worth it in itself. I think that's something like you don't know what you don't know, and to put all of that together, like I'm not an integrator. It's very difficult for me to try and sit down and do something like that, and then trying to find an integrator to bring on to your team to do something like I feel like that takes a long time to actually build something like that. So that is just insane value that they gave you guys on top of Nick giving you guys $4,000 each and everything else. It's hard to top Veena. That was, I think she really like set the bar high, and I love that she did that.
Yeah.
I am going next year and you're watching Sailor.
KJ is about to leave this weekend for a bachelorette party, and
it's my first time away from Sailor.
I'm dreading it because
nice.
Like an hour and a half maybe, and oh man, she was not having it this morning. So I'm worried what 3 days are gonna be like. We'll see what happens though. I have faith in myself.
It'll be good. You'll be amazed at. It's always scary that first time, but I have found that with both of my kids, when I finally left, the amount of bonding that happened, it was like what they needed, because especially when they're young, like Sailor's age, they're so mommy focused, and you'll gain a closeness after this that it's only going to build. Like it's really cool. At least that was my experience with both of my kids. Just that first time of leaving, and like Brian having, the full thing, and it's scary, and they both have to work it out, and they're both uncomfortable, but when they come out the other side of it, it's like all of a sudden there's some tears or there's some crying like the next week, and they want daddy for the first time or something. It's like some of those start to come out. So I'm excited for you. I have faith for you in you, and it'll be cool.
I'm working for a daddy's girl, that's for sure. That's my goal in life right now.
Yes, we know she's a copy and paste of you.
Let's go.
Okay. Anyways, is there anything else y'all would like to end with or say before we finish off here?
I wanted to keep it open. Like if there's people out there who are not part of Multifi and you have questions even after this podcast, we are all open books.
That's Christy's husband right there.
Yeah, he's piping in over here trying to say it was easy.
High five. No, I was just going to say we are all open to sharing our experiences in Multifi and multifamily just generally. And if you're interested in joining our community, we would love to have more people like win with us. So definitely reach out to us if it's something that interests you.
Yeah, and join if you're not already in there. Join Veena's free Facebook group because there's a ton of value in there. We're all very active in there, and it's a great way to kind of dip your toe in if it's new to you. So there's so many people on here, you guys. I didn't even realize. We can't see who's on until you comment, and can't believe all of you stayed on and came on late with us. So,
and thank you guys for
still on right now. It's past midnight.
I know. Okay, we're just gonna have to have a follow-up with more stuff, and we're just gonna deep dive. I love this.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
there's definitely a lot more that could be unpacked, but just for the sake of time, this is almost a 2-hour live, so it's been a good one. Really, really, really great weekend. I'm super excited to implement a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. We've already started implementing some of it, and like these ladies said, we're happy to share our experiences. That's what we're all about here, is collaborating. Every single one of us here is open to it. So reach out if you haven't already. We'd love to make the connections. Any last shameless plugins for anyone? This is an opportunity.
Well, my teens community starts tomorrow, our first live Zoom. So just a reminder, if you have any family or friends that you think would benefit from the program, we're so big on community because it is really life-changing. I think it's just such a transformative factor in your growth and success. And I really wish I knew that aspect sooner. So I would love to have more people in the community and contribute to it because I can't make the impact alone. So that is my shameless plug. And you can see more information on my socials.
There you go.
I was going to say, give them the name and tell them where to go.
It's called Bayani Education, but I can join the chat and do it.
Yeah, and I'll post it.
Yeah, I'll just tag it in the recap or something.
Okay, I'll let KJ do that. That's her specialty.
You'll just have to just text it to me, and I can. Mom brain, it's a thing.
But thank you guys for hosting.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. Really appreciate it. It was fun to relive it all. I had a great time.
Yeah, happy to have y'all on anytime. We'll have to do something else awesome again so we can have a conversation about that too. We see you guys all the time. If you're here, you already know us. So go check out our stuff. We're happy to have you. That's it. That's all I got, really. Yeah. Appreciate y'all for staying on so late. And for those watching this in the future, appreciate you guys as well.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you. I don't have an outro yet, so we're just going to awkwardly leave.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye, everyone.